Hello, this is Diane Foster, and I am recording this session of a systems approach to leadership development for today's session at Tuesday, March 26th, 1 hour. We are waiting for other participants to come to the call, and we will get started in just a moment. Actually, in about 5 minutes, because I noticed that it's still 11:55. So I'm going to take this off. I understand about location being a problem sometimes in terms of where you're listening or trying to listen in. This call is going to be recorded, so just so you know, you can use your first names only if you want to maintain confidentiality. And I am going to go ahead and get started. I'm really honored to have you all on the call today and to be able to explain this legacy project of mine that I've developed for over 20 years, and hope that it can make a real difference in support of real leadership in organizations. I've got some wonderful current clients who are beginning to work with the program coming to the call. I've got some past clients who have worked with me on their own leadership on the call, and some colleagues and fellow coaches who want to explore how they can get their clients to invest in the skill program to support leadership for their organizations and for themselves, and a couple of individuals who I don't know, but I'm really glad you're here. So what are we, oops, wait a minute. What are we talking about today? Over the last recessionary period, I've heard with greater urgency from my internal HR colleagues that they're being asked to play an even bigger role, bigger than being just performance advisors, and trying to do that on less and less budget. So there's a great movement of leadership development, particularly. It's even gone over to being controlled by finance, but where there's budget, there's been a lot of movement to web-based support for it, and for sure a need for budget-friendly solutions. At the same time, there's been this movement to make sure that any results in leadership development are measurable to the bottom line of the business. Everything connected to market share. So, closer scrutiny on all of that. In this last couple of months, the Institute of Corporate Productivity came out with their belief that 2013 and beyond was going to mean a real tie-in of leadership and talent management and work on culture support to market share. And that meant tying everything in to the real strategies of the business. And in so many cases, very few organizations have actually learned how to do this. So they say to leaders in organizations and to particularly HR that it's less about talent management and more about managing talent. That you better really get clear on metrics and analytics for training and organizational effectiveness in general. And there needs to be a growing involvement of line managers in making sure that this happens, and a transition for everyone in organizational effectiveness from business partners to performance advisors. And that includes, I know we have several line managers on the call today, those who would take up a real leadership role. Performance advising increasingly important. So what that looks like as far as we are concerned here is making sure that you've got both high mission impact and high profitability, okay? Otherwise, you're not going to make the grade in terms of being a real high performing, financially sustained organization. So for today's call, what I wanted to do is to look at the skill kit for leaders and what working with core competencies has done for organizations that we've worked with, and how skill, as we call it, the acronym Skill Kit for Leaders, can be used as a systems approach for talent management and for leadership development. And then I want to share with you some of my case examples and experiences, and to demonstrate through that, hopefully, what we believe really breeds success, and then look with you at how you can work with this in your own organizations, and still leave some time for questions and discussion. So hopefully we can get through as much of that as possible. Now, I'm going to go right now, to my skill kit website, because I think this is the easiest way to show you what we're really talking about. What the skill kit for leaders is 42 leadership resource units based on the Harvard leadership studies that include resources like live links to other websites for learning, and live links to video clips. All of this has been enabled through our web-based design. But there are 42 of these units, and every unit has all of these different modules, okay? Now, the product itself looks like this. I see that there are 3 key areas in which a leader, to really be leveraging what they do in all areas with all staff, needs to have success in. And in each of those arenas of leadership, I call them, there are a number of what I call roles that individual leaders need to pick up. So each of those, being a strategist, is a competency. Being able to develop people is a competency. But if we look more deeply at what is behind those roles, we'll see individual competencies or skills that support those. So we, of course, need all of these for optimal development, but in certain roles, you're going to need some more than others. And that's where the work with development plans comes in, and where individuals can work with their strengths to kind of overcome their deficiencies or what they need to really tackle. The orientation and tools kit that comes with the skill kit includes not only a list of the competency definitions, but a self-study guide for this. Truly is self-study if you want it to be, and an enabler for that with an audio guide and a development planning template and an evaluation log for the development of the person or individual leader. So more on that later. But going now to look quickly at what I call the systems approach. And again, I point to my Skill Kit for Leaders website, and some of you have been on this with me. So forgive the double exposure here. The center of the model is based on our belief that if you get clear on what the core competencies are that your organization really needs to excel in, and really, really work with clarity around that, it sets you up for success in the pipeline to success. So what we know from our experience, and I'll mention more on this later, is that if the human resources internal support team or any leader takes up a role as a coach with the individuals in their organization, that they're going to generally hit on a lot of these competencies. But there's always a need for support in kind of a tactile, hands-on way, and understanding what they can do and redefining that in their context is what the skill units enable. So I'm going to go back up there for just a minute. Okay. The skill definitions are very involved in behaviors. Each one of these units is based in a behavioral definition. And we see then that these practice activities have some skill building relationship to the competency. So we're going to suggest to the individual who's working on her or his development plan that they scan this list and pick up activities that will help build their competency. Okay, and they've got all kinds of other support tools in each unit, including the very popular video clips. Okay. Back to my skill features here, if I can jump around a bit. So they're going to, the whole approach is going to be accelerated by implementing a coaching culture. Now, we know that those competency definitions from a systems approach have been used successfully for support in improving the actual recruiting and hiring process, because when the organization is clear on the core competencies, then they can post better job descriptions and use those descriptions in the hiring behavioral interviews. And we've worked with organizations that have done that really successfully with this skill. So The performance management improves in organizations where this approach is used. One of our clients used these competency definitions to enforce better performance management with every single office across the United States because they were having difficulty with reviews, with performance reviews, and the morale around all of that was sinking. And so they mandated that the leaders actually go ahead with use of the use of these competencies to write performance reviews, which was amazing, the result, because taking a coach approach in those performance reviews and also using those for clarity about what had to be improved, not only improved the whole performance review process, but also it improved performances in those offices across the United States. So that was a real win with just those competency definitions. But again, it all goes back to the shared clarity on the core competencies. Now, by the way, I just want to say if anyone has a question, I'm kind of rolling through a lot here. Please feel free to interrupt me. We will have time at the end for questions as well. But don't hesitate to interrupt me if you have a pressing question. Okay. Now, the next piece of the pipeline for success is, of course, working with this in leadership development. And I pointed to pieces in the toolkit that support the individual in doing their own development plans. But of course, this was originated for work behind 360 and coaching for use by coaches in general in organizations. And that's how it's been used, and it's been purchased by many, many coaches to work with in that fashion. But not now that we have the web-based program, I'm selling that to organizations and authorizing external coaches to work with it with their clients in that fashion. But yeah, there's lots of ways to work with it in terms of marrying the core competencies of the skill kit for leaders with what has been determined as critical competencies inside that particular organization. And for certain, group coaching has worked really, really well. Extra support behind key trainings like the training on conflict management, training on time management, and we here at Diane Foster and Associates offer webinars on a lot of those, delegation and so forth. So last two pieces of the pipeline come right out of the clarity on those core competencies. Most organizations have to be clear on who's got the competency for succession in certain roles. And of course, we know that the skill kit sets you up for that. And there's a lot to be said about succession planning. I'll come back to that if there's questions. And then last but not least, career development. I think it's pretty critical, more critical than ever, because you can't hire the best and the brightest without some sense of career development being encouraged inside the organization, even if it's a relatively flat organization. career development and getting clear on how you develop as an individual can be offered with a program like the Skill Kit. So that's our pipeline for success. Now I'm going to come back off of the website and back to my my slides here. Let's see if I can get up to where we were. So here's, oops, just a quick look. Here's the system again for those of you who didn't see it. 42 skills, all based on the Harvard Leadership Studies, and all worked through in the same fashion as I demonstrated on the website. Okay. Every single one of these has different robust activities with which any leader can develop her or his skill. Okay, in there. So what do we see as the value to your organization? I think the first key is that this is a totally customizable program and can be certainly used by any, well, we sell it in both Microsoft Word and in PDF version, but a lot of people want to just use those pieces that have particular applicancy to their core competencies. It's an affordable tool. I really, truly want to get this work out there, and particularly for those organizations where they don't have real support for leadership these days, particularly care about that. We've made the self-study emphasis as flexible as possible. Any employee can really learn at their own pace or be coached by the human resources business partners or their bosses. And it's easy to really apply it to real time and to any context. It really promotes a coaching culture. And I want to talk more about that in just a minute. So that's, let's see. Yeah, it just really supports being aware of the bottom line. Okay. Now, again, I want to come back to how it's been used behind 360s and so forth. Your work with it behind development plans. You can use your own organization's development plan, or you can use our development plan as a self-study guide, and there's instruction for how to do that. You can send the whole skill package to anyone in the organization for their self-study, or you can just have them download it. It's possible to support any leader through discussion and dialogue on which of the skill building activities could be of greatest use or support. It's been handed off to be digested between coaching sessions or reviews and so forth. I'm not going to just continue to read this list. And we've got a pretty good self-evaluation tool that's been improved too, which works to support the whole learning process. So I want to just run through, I mentioned running through some success stories with you. At the U.S. Department of Labor, we doubled productivity in the targeted leaders offices in a program for which I was mentor coach with an internal team called Coaching for High Performance with Emotional Intelligence. We used 360 before and after to assess results. And then there was an organizational study done on productivity that showed this doubling of productivity over the previous year. And our program was the only program introduced during that time to support the leaders. It also occurred over a time when they were trying to recover from the 9/11 attacks and were, in fact, struggling as the U.S. Department of Labor to keep up with everything nationally. So we felt very good about that. This program made the front page of the Wall Street Journal, where we worked with it in with a coach approach, where the leaders in the organization learned how to become coaches and work on their own succession planning, and for their own leadership development around their core competencies in a private contracting engineering and development company. We supported the development of 65 technical individuals to leader roles for a Fortune 50 high-tech company after a merger. We've used it with nonprofits. I worked over 3 years coaching a select group from each year of leaders for the National Performing Arts organizations, and tremendous success with that, with these units. And so it's been used in a whole variety of settings, and we feel it's been well tested. So how does this work? And I just jotted down a few ideas here. It's flexible enough so that it can be used in a single business unit or a small staff group or a whole division or a whole organization. Fortune 50 companies have purchased it. Large biotechs have purchased it. And you can do that and set up a way of measuring the results. Or one leader who can walk her or his talk is the sponsor in introducing it and making sure that they can kind of carry this as as a champion, really, for leadership. That's helped in several of the organizations where we've worked. You can join. I would really encourage any of you on the call who are interested to join the implementation mentoring group, which I can review with you here in a second. That is starting in April. Calling it Coaching for High Performance with, I'm calling it Producing Extraordinary Results with a Leadership Coaching Program. But it's really mentoring in a group coaching on implementation for a leadership program of this nature. To convince the decision makers at the top of your organization to use it even for just one purpose, like my client did, who purchased it for improving their performance management system and got tremendous results across all the national offices in that example that I mentioned. You can use it for your already defined core competency needs, or you can use it as a standalone with all of the core competencies, the 42, soon to be 43. We're adding a new one on resiliency. There's a lot of work that's possible with it, just as self-study for improved leadership. So what does a timeline for actually implementing the program look like? First, the purchase of it, and right now you can get that at a pilot price and receive the IP license agreement and passwords for those number of leaders that you're purchasing it for, or for your whole organization. You can, as I said, right after that, we suggest getting into a mentoring implementation group, this like the one that I'm starting on April 11th. We know that one of the first pieces that goes right after the purchase is a needs analysis, and we can guide you through that. It is not included in the price of it if we have to come into your organization and do that. But in most cases, we can figure out a way to support you on that. There's the consideration for working with a coaching clinic for the leaders who need to upskill to really take on their role for working with a program of this nature. Or in most cases, HR staff may or may not have that. Some of that will be covered in the mentoring implementation group, but I'm also happy to talk about the way we use the model of coaching and introduce it to leaders. I went over that very, very quickly on my website in that features program, but I'm happy to talk with you more about that. In terms of the use of the coaching and webinar trainings on core skill competencies in support of leadership management, coaching, development, planning. The question, of course, is, can you do that in your organization, or do you need Diane Foster and Associates help? We have set this up hopefully to be as self-sufficient as possible and to address that whole business of you're not needing a lot of expense in outsourcing, but where coaches are already working in your organization, it's a natural. And of course, we want to help you set up the way to measure the program so that you can prove your productivity gains and prove the definite improvement in leadership. So I'm going to stop there for a minute because there surely must be some questions by now. What questions do you have? Several of you may have to unmute yourself. Are you still there? No questions at all?
Well, Diane, I have one. This is Donna. I just wonder if there is a scalability issue at all with this in implementation. In other words, what's too small to start and what's too big?
Well, we always recommend ideally a pilot of some sort so that you can prove your success. But Donna, it's varied. It's really varied. Thank you for the question. And it's varied dramatically. If as I've said, I've had global Fortune 50 organizations purchase the skill, and usually there it's deployed by internal HR, organizational effectiveness consultant coaches. And in fact, there's a recording on that Skill Kit website of a presentation that I did with a wonderful client of mine who we did it for ASTD several months ago. And she's actually purchased it both when she was internal at Roche and also at Altera. And she doesn't mind my sharing that. But she was great on sharing some of the barriers and hurdles that she found as an internal in trying to work with this in a huge, organization, very large organization. I have one organization that's purchased it for just 5 internal leaders. And in fact, they are going to be in the implementation mentoring group because they're wanting to know some best practices and how to leverage it best. So I know I didn't really answer your question, but it can vary pretty dramatically, and I think that bears some discussion between you and me.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, let me go on. So as I've mentioned, and I want to show you what is in this series. I've got it right here. It's also on the website. Sorry for the kind of awkward scramble here, but I just wanted everybody on the call to understand what was in this series. You're going to really understand there are actually 7 90-minute bi-weekly webinar sessions, which will begin, wait a minute, this is the old start date. We moved it to April 11th. Sorry, forget that. This is accurate. It's accurate on my website. I just noticed that. But you're going to have 7 90-minute sessions that will allow you to look at how you work to establish core competencies as a talent management system, but really work in general as someone who's sponsoring better leadership in your organization with your client organization if you're an external coach, or with your staff if you are internal or as a leader. It'll be webinar sessions, and I'll be mentoring those. The early bird rate by March 1st for those 7 sessions, including a lot of the competency building units, I've reduced it to $900 each. And that includes, by the way, 11 CEU units or mentor coaching credits for those coaches on the call who want or need those. Okay. So $900 for that. The first one, and forget the dates here. I didn't realize when I picked this out of, I should have gone to the website, but you're going to get an orientation and work on optimizing the program and achieving buy-in in your organization and how to set it up for success in the first, very, very first unit of this or module. And so the skill unit for that is managing for results. And then we're going to work on coaching, actual coaching with it in the second module. In the third one, We're going to work on how you actually use this to improve recruiting and hiring. And then it moves to improvement of performance management and working on leadership development in a lot of time for actual practice, hopefully in these sessions and discussion with your peers on this. Working with succession planning, and finally working on career development. A lot of you know that my own background is both in organization development and in career development. So I have huge emphasis on this career development piece and what needs to be in place for that. So there's at this point, 5 spots left. And that's kind of the outline, the rough outline of the program. But it's on my website, both my regular website and the Skill Kit for Leaders website. So a lot of information there. And I know that a lot of you have been there. I know some of you on the call enough to know that you've seen that. So, okay. I need somebody to manage my slides here. So I'm going to go back here. The idea is, again, that any one of you who is currently coaching as an external can get authorized to use this skill kit for your leaders. Ooh, I don't know what happened. Hello? Are you there? Oh, sorry, everybody. I don't know what happened.
Diane, we're still here.
Oh, good, good. I'm thrilled. I don't have no idea what happened. So at any rate, you'll be able to be authorized to use the skill kit for leaders to sell it to your client organizations. You will not personally be able to purchase it off of the web. At least at this point, we're making it saleable only to organizations. But you'll know how to work to price it for sale to organizations. And so if you're interested in that, let's talk. Let's talk. Okay. And so is there any need for more product viewing? We've got just a few minutes left, or more general questions about this. I really wanted to save time for questions, and that's what this time is all about. I see a few people have needed to leave. Everybody on the call who's interested will receive a complimentary electronic copy of this PowerPoint and my article on coaching for high performance with emotional intelligence. So let me know if you'd like those with an email. We do offer this free strategy consultation. I suggest anybody who's interested in that, let me know. I'm happy to consult to you on that, truly. So let's see. Anybody need to see anything more of the product right now? Anybody have any further questions? Oh, Marcos, I'm sorry I didn't see your questions before. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Here, a little bit more on succession planning. Okay. the whole concept of succession planning, when I've worked with it in organizations, is a little bit like the hiring process. There needs to be assessment, usually, of by the organization on the competencies that are critical relative to any particular role. Now, there are role and position descriptions in many organizations have those already, but if not, then there needs to be a process for flushing that out so that the competencies of the individual, and I'm not talking technical competencies here necessarily. I mean, yes, that too, but we're talking from a leadership standpoint. Moving up in the organization always requires better leadership competencies. So the whole concept there is to get a match going, and that frequently requires assessment tools, feedback tools on that, which we have quite a few of. And so we've done that. We're working a lot these days with the EQI 2.0 and the EQI 360. And it's great tool in general for leadership. In fact, it matches against a lot of the core leadership competencies in our kit. Okay, so now the let me see. If the units get updated periodically, yes, Marcos, they do. Every year there are units that will be updated. So the purchase for this of the skill is for 1 year, and at the end of that year, at a $85 per person price, they get the IP license renewed and the updated units. Okay, so that's what happens each year. Now, let's see, PowerPoint. Okay, that's about it in terms of the questions. Marcos, did you have any other particular questions? That whole succession planning thing is more complicated than what I can explain here. I think I'd need to talk to you, privately about that. So I'm not sure that I answered that thoroughly, but happy to spend some time with you about it. If you have particular questions about it, that would be great. How to use the system in the web as a client. Oh, the web use. Okay, that it's web-based. Okay. Okay, let me go back out here. Hold on. I can do that. I'm going to just get rid of the screens here. Sorry. Because I think I got out of my website. So, Marcos, assuming you are still with me, do you see this client login here? Now, the login, email, user ID, and password would be assigned after purchase, okay? And at each sign in, your individual leader needs to agree with the intellectual property license, which is spelled out in some detail, and that's what we go over in the orientation sessions. And then they can come in and choose any single role out of the 42, or competency unit, out of the 42 possibilities, or they can work with any one of these individual tools, or they can actually download the whole system to their website over here. See? In other words, if they want, they have that access. Frequently, HR or coaches will suggest certain skill units so that they're not overloaded. I'm assuming you're with me on this. But say the development plan means that they're going to need to really work on monitoring and controlling. Well, then they get that particular unit downloaded, and they get it like this. Excuse me. Let me get rid of this too. Oh. And they've got the practice activities right in front of them for monitoring and controlling. And you, as their coach, would, because I know that would be your interest, I'm assuming, Marcus, would support them in looking at what they needed to focus on the most out of this list of activities. But you would be kind of customizing this in the course of your coaching conversation with them. You would be suggesting personal development activities for monitoring and controlling, or some potential support through reading activities on this subject. These are all really well screened bibliography, websites, and some quick tips. Okay. Now, this particular unit, doesn't have a lot of video training in it because there's not a lot of video available for monitoring and controlling. But some units have, like, for instance, the emotional intelligence has a lot. Depends on the unit, what you're working on. Okay. Does that explain the use of this as a web-based tool? Good, good. Okay, super. Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility in the way that this can be distributed. Other questions, Mitchell? Other questions, Marcos? Since you two were active with the... Okay, super. Well, I think it's about time to close. Mitchell, I think we'll have more time tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. Looking forward to that. So thanks for being on the call, and goodbye to everybody. Look forward to further conversation, and let me know, Marcos, if you think you can join the mentor coaching group. If you're interested, we should talk. Okay. Look forward to that. Okay. Hope all goes well with you. Okay. Bye-bye.